Well, before we get going with our study this morning, a couple quick shout-out announcements tonight. At around 4 o'clock, we have what we call our Town Hall Q&A meeting. We're updating you on different things going on in the church. We also cover some of the kind of business items coming up, like budgets and nominations and stuff. So if you're part of this church, I would love for you to show up. You don't have to become a member or anything to be part of it. So it'll be a shorter meeting, around 45 minutes. But that's today, right here, this afternoon. And then coming up on November 16th, that's in a Sunday in November, we have what's called Growth Track. Woo. So in Growth Track, what we're doing is we're going to share with you the 5 main ways you grow as a follower of Jesus Christ. Whether it's at this church or anyone else, it's the 5 primary tracks or the foundational principles. So if you have not been, I really want to encourage you to be there. And it also doubles up as our membership class. So if at the end you decide I want to be officially a member of Journey South Bay, you can do that. If you want to sign up, you can fill out one of those connection cards. You can go online and sign up, but make sure you have November 16th on your radar. Okay, let's jump into Broken. We're in this series based upon the book of Nehemiah. And we're talking about things that are broken in our life, our families, our finances, our emotions, things that need repair and need restoration. And we've been making our way through chapter 1, chapter 2 each week. This morning we get to chapter 3. Chapter 3 is a rather unusual chapter. I'm going to cherry pick a couple verses for you and give you some perspective on what the entire chapter is like. Okay, so we're going to start with verse 4. Nehemiah chapter 3, verse 4, here's what it says. Meremoth, son of Uriah, son of Hakkoth, repaired the next section. Next to him, Meshullam, son of Beriah, the son of Meshullam, made repairs. And next to him, Zadok, son of Bana, also made repairs. They're repairing the broken wall in Jerusalem. Verse 7, next to them, repairs were made by the men of Gibeon and Mishpah. Melatiah of Gibeon and Jadon of Meronoth, places under the authority of the governor. And we skip ahead to verse 17. Next to him, the repairs were made by the Levites under Raymond, son of Bani. Beside him, Hashmaniah, ruler of the half-district of Thaliah, carried out repairs. Verse 21, next to him, Meremoth, son of Uriah, the son of Hakkoth, repaired another section. And it goes on and on and on and on, with just name after name after name. And this guy repaired this section, and this group repaired this section, and this other person repaired this section. It's kind of one of those chapters you're like, yeah, now let's just move on to chapter 4. What is going on here? Well, we know that nothing in Scripture is wasted. It's always there for a purpose. So now, take a step back and remember, what are we looking at? We are looking at God's blueprint in Nehemiah of how to repair things that are broken in our life. And very quickly, to give you a summary of where we've been and what Nehemiah chapter 3 is all about. Nehemiah chapter 1 is if you have something that's broken in your life, the absolute first thing you must do is you have to pray. You have to ask God for His wisdom. You have to ask God for His strength. You have to ask God for His direction. The staff, we had about 16 of us go to a conference in San Diego, a church conference, and I've been asking for takeaways from the people that went. And one of the biggest takeaways was a quote that we heard, and it's this idea that prayer may be the greatest sin, prayerlessness may be the greatest sin of all, because it tells us who we think is in charge. When you don't pray, what you're actually thinking by carrying out is, I'm in charge. I don't need God's wisdom. I don't need His strength. I got this. And Nehemiah chapter 1 reminds us, no, you don't got this. That's why your family is broken. That's why your career is broken. That's why your marriage is about ready to fall apart. You need to lean into God and what He has for you, His strength, His wisdom, and His guidance. That was Nehemiah chapter 1. Now, Nehemiah chapter 2 doesn't sound as spiritual as chapter 1, because what could be more spiritual than prayer, right? Nehemiah chapter 2 is about planning. It's just as important as praying. You got to put a plan together. You got to get organized. You got to do your homework. You got to figure out the big picture and the details of how to repair and restore what is broken in your life. So, chapter 1, pray. Chapter 2, plan. Chapter 3, the big message of chapter 3 is very simply, you see it on the screen, you need to build a team to help you rebuild what is broken, to help you succeed in life. There's probably no greater sports team that has ever been put together than the one that we're going to put on the screen right now. This is the basketball United States men's Olympic team from 1993, the Olympics in Barcelona. One of the greatest stories coming out of this Olympics was this team. Because for the very first time, the United States of America, we used to be sending college kids to the Olympics. Well, we started to not always win, and we're like, what are we doing? We got the biggest powerhouse basketball empire in the world called the National Basketball Association. We're not going to send college kids anymore. We're going to send our pros. We're going to show the world how we know how to play basketball. So if you're a basketball fan, you may recognize some of these superstars. Maybe one of the greatest generation of basketballers of all time. Right in the middle, you have Chuck Daly. He was the coach of the Detroit Pistons at the time. On either side of him, you have Patrick Ewing. He was the center for the New York Knickerbockers. On the other side, number 5, the Admiral. The Admiral. He was a center. David Robinson playing for the San Antonio Spurs. On the back side, you certainly have to recognize the top row. Starting on the far left, you've got Michael Jordan. You probably heard of him. Pretty good basketball player standing right next to him, the big white guy, number 7. That's Larry Bird from the Boston Celtics. And of course, if you're a Laker fan, you should recognize number 15, Magic Irvin Johnson. And it goes on and on and on. This team, this dream team, like they call them, they beat their opponents by an average of 44 points. They absolutely decimated who they played against. But it wasn't that they were winning by 44 points. It's that they were playing like they were the Globetrotters. Every game was just highlight after highlight after highlight. And in timeouts, at free throws, the opponents were coming to them shaking their hands in the middle of the game. Because of how they were playing, they were literally treated like rock stars. And normally Olympians are able to enjoy the city wherever they're at, but not these guys. They would go out in public and they were mobbed by reporters, mobbed by the crowds who wanted to take one picture with Charles Barkley, one picture with Michael Jordan, get an autograph from Magic Johnson. They were treated like superstars, except one guy. One guy, he's on the top row all the way to the right. You see him? Little short white guy. His name was John Stockton. Great point guard for the Utah Jazz. But he wasn't as recognizable as all the other guys. A documentary was made about the Dream Team and their experience in Barcelona. And I cut out a little clip, and we're going to put it up, and I want you to watch it right now.
I want you guys out and about, because we don't know how safe it is. And I'm going to do, I'm at the Olympics. I'm not going to stay in my room the whole time.
So Barkley strolled Los Ramblas, a man of the people, if ever there was one.
And I walked up and down the Ramblas every night, and the people were fantastic. They all wanted autographs and wanted to take pictures.
We could be inside the hotel. Soon we heard the big roar. We said, "Here go Charles." So Charles would be walking, and then thousands would be following him everywhere he went. You know, he was the Pied Piper.
Charles would go over to the village and find the Angolan players and hang out along the Ramblas at night. He was the most memorable person of the 1992 Olympics.
I just saw this touch he had. I don't think anybody else in the world could have done it besides Charles Barkley. At the end of the day, he was America's best ambassador.
Barkley was celebrated for experiencing the Olympics on his own terms. More quietly, one of his teammates found a way to do the same.
We had the motorcycle escorts and we bust through traffic like Dick Tracy. But this one day we got stuck in traffic. We're just sitting there. Finally, I said, "That's it. Let's go. Anybody wants to go up? Yeah, I'm headed."
He'd get off the bus and his family met him. He started walking right through the middle of everybody and nobody knows. I'm still on the bus, seeing him walk down the street, and I'm saying to myself, I would give anything to do what he just did.
See guys, this is called the Ramblas. See all the footprints? Alright.
So Los Ramblas, it's like Times Square or something. There's just so many people walking. I'm 6'1", I'm about the average size of everybody else on that little walk. So we'll walking with my family and I have the camera and nobody's noticing.
I think it's the sunglasses that's full of. Must be. Hi, I'm from America. Whereabouts? Whereabouts? Massachusetts. You been watching the Dream Team at all? They're pretty good, aren't they?
No attention whatsoever. Finally, we ran across this lady who had the Dream Team and all the pictures on her t-shirt.
Hi. Are you an American? You look wonderful.
Why, thank you.
She started speaking real excitedly about each of the players. And I said, have you had a chance to meet anyone?
Did Charles Barkley the other night?
Did ya? He's a hell of a player. See, you got all the players right there in your shirt. Is Charles the only one you've ever seen? Hey guys, do you know any of those guys on there?
I think my oldest son Houston ruined the surprise.
That's your dad? Too bad he's not here. I do, yeah. I can't go anywhere without being bugged. Really not much different than Michael Jordan walking through here.
So here's what I want you to understand. Nehemiah in the Bible, he's the Michael Jordan of the story. Everybody knows Nehemiah. Everyone knows when he's there or when he's not there. Everybody wants a picture with Nehemiah. Everyone wants Nehemiah's autograph. But everyone listed in Nehemiah chapter 3 is John Stockton. Everyone in chapter 3 were the actual people that rebuilt that wall. You see, Nehemiah is certainly important. Every great team always has a very capable leader. But every great team also is filled with John Stocktons. People that aren't recognizable necessarily. People that aren't going up to them and giving them high fives left and right. If they show up to church one Sunday or not, they may or may not be noticed. But without them, the work doesn't get done. Does that make sense? In much the same way, many of you are the John Stocktons of Journey South Bay. You might not have a microphone and get to stand up here and have the lights on you, but the work, the kingdom work of Journey South Bay does not happen without you. I want you to turn to the person next to you and say, I am John Stockton. Go ahead and tell them right now.
I'm John Stockton.
The walls are getting built because of the John Stocktons in the kingdom. Now, one of the interesting things when you read through chapter 3, and again, it is one of those chapters it's tempting to skip over, right? It's tempting to skip over. But Michael Jordan is the Nehemiah, but John Stockton is right there along with him. But the main phrase that is repeated in Nehemiah chapter 3 is this one right here, next to him. And so built the wall, and this section of the wall, and next to him. And this person built this section of the wall, and next to him. And this person built this section of the wall, and next to him. Which begs the question, who's next to you? If you're trying to rebuild and repair what is broken in your life, if you're trying to succeed in life, who's next to you? Who's on your team? Who's the one that comes along and cheerleads you when you're down? Who's the one that's the sage, the expert, that gives you wisdom because of their experience in life or because of their maturity in life? Who's that peer that just comes along and helps you move a couch when you need the couch moved? Who's on your team? Because you see, you can pray and you can plan, but chapter 3 is in there for a reason. You will not succeed the way you want to succeed in life. You will not repair what is broken in life until you have a team. Formal or non-formal, you have a team. What I want to do is I'm going to flip back and forth between talking to you about you building your team and then talking about the team that is Journey South Bay. And as we go through chapter 3, I want to give you some characteristics of people you need on your team, people that we are looking for our team on Journey South Bay. As we're going through it, I want you to ask yourself, do I qualify? Do I have these character qualities? Because that's how it's trying to stretch us. It's not only build a team, but do we have the capacity to be on the team? So I'm going to give you 4 criteria. I want to encourage you to take your study guide, write these down. I don't have a lot for you to write down, but it helps you remember. Here's the first criteria of being on the team? Commitment. Commitment. It's people that are willing to serve in non-gifting areas. It's people that are willing to focus on the priority needs. So whether it's a church or whether it's a family or whether it's a company, here's the ideal. The ideal is that someone serves in the area of their expertise. Someone serves in the area of their giftedness. That's what you want ideally to do. So if someone is really techie, well, we want you to help us with our computers, right? If you like to enjoy hang out with young people, we want you to work in youth ministry or kids ministry. If you're an accountant or a CPA, we'd love some help with finances, right? That's what you try and do. You try to take someone who, if you're a carpenter or a plumber, could you help us out with our facility teams? Whatever your gifting area is, that's the natural part to plug you in. But every once in a while, what you see is that we have a need in an area that doesn't match your giftedness, but people that are on the team are saying, I am so committed to the mission, I'm willing to help out anyway. It's not a primary gifting for me, but I'm willing to step up. I'm glad that you're gifted in this area. I'm glad that you're passionate in this area. But we have a need over here. What do you think? Let me give you an example. Nehemiah chapter 3, verse 8. Uzziel, one of the goldsmiths, repaired the next section. Now look at this dude. Hananiah, one of the perfume makers in town, made repairs next to that. A perfume maker. Like, this guy doesn't have a clue what he's doing. This guy puts moisturizer on at night because he wants to keep his hands soft and supple. He doesn't own a pair of work boots, overalls, or work gloves. He never sweats on the job because he's always inside where there's air conditioning, right? He doesn't know how to build anything, right? You know what he knows how to do? Come up with a new scent of cologne. That's what he's good at. He doesn't know how to repair anything. In fact, when something breaks at home, his wife is more likely to fix it than he is. He dry cleans his shirts. He's that kind of guy. You're a little self-conscious at this point. But they go to the perfume maker and they say, you know, we could use some help mixing cement and laying brick. And I'm not really that good at that. I can give you a new scented candle. We don't need a new scented candle. We need some help rebuilding this part of the wall. They are so committed to the mission, they're willing to serve even outside of their gifting area. Does that make sense? You see, at some point in time, you don't have to be gifted at everything. The question is, are you available for anything? Let me say that again. You don't have to be gifted at everything, but the question is, are you available for anything? I am so committed to the mission of making more and better followers of Jesus Christ. I'll help out whatever you do. Where do you see? We have another example in Nehemiah chapter 3, verse 12. Shallum, son of Halosheth, repaired the next section with the help of his daughters. Okay, sisters, ladies, let's go over here. We're going to the kitchen. Yeah, we're going to the kitchen. What we're going to do is we're going to make ham sandwiches. We're going to make some potato salad. So when the hombres are done rebuilding, we're going to give them a lunch break. We're going to also make some sweet tea because we're from the South. And we're going to make some lemonade. And we're going to have available for them. We're going to have an afternoon snack. Ladies, let's go to the kitchen. So these daughters, 2 or 3 daughters of this guy called Shallum, they head to the kitchen. They're like, no, I don't think so. They got plenty of help. They don't need me. So they go back out to the construction site. They find a subcontractor. Nehemiah, we're here to help. Yeah, but you guys are girls. Yeah, no problem.
I listened to it on YouTube. It sounds like it's coming from a computer.
No problem. It's going to ruin your pedicure and your nails. Put us to work.
Audio input.
I know.
This is the only one
we're
we're
not
using.
The ones that probably fit the bill. We're here to build it.
I turned the audios to 0 on those.
See, in the end, great churches have people not only that are willing to serve where they're gifted, but they're willing to serve where they're most needed. I think it's great that you're a successful business person. teacher, nurse, or an engineer, but we need a little bit of help teaching fourth grade kids voice class. How about it? You see, whether it's your team and you're building to repair or succeed, or it's our team, Journey South Bay, you always have people that are committed to the cause above everything else. Number two, you have people that are willing to sacrifice. To serve in hospitality, cutting donuts, one for the church, one for me. One for the church, one for me. So much more fun to serve there than certain other areas. But all the areas are deep. Let me give you an example. Nehemiah chapter 3, verse 14. The dung gate was repaired by Malchiah, son of Rechab, ruler of the district of Beth Hartan. He built it and put doors on their bolts and bars in place. So biblical historians will tell us that the reason it was called Dung Gate was for one of two reasons. Number one, it was really close to the city dump. The city dump where all the sewage went, where all the garbage went, where all the dead animals went. And being by the sewage dump made it awful smell. Reason number one. Reason number two, it was called the Dung Gate, well, because it was made out of dung. They did this all the time in those days. So what they would do is they would get a fresh cow pie. You know what that is? The cows are walking by. Let me get this right here. Nice and soft. Ooh, nice. And they would go up to the Dung Gate, and they would plaster it up there, and they would rub it up, go it up, rub it up, okay, and then the Middle Eastern sun would hit it and would bake it. Ah, we need a little more. Here's another cow pie. Let's do that. Let's put it up here. And we put it up on the framing, and before you know it, on top of it, we got the Dung Gate. But when it's all said and done, your hands are full of poop. By the way, there are ministry positions at Journey South Bay. We literally can bring you in contact with poop. It's called the nursery department. It's not as glamorous there as other places. But you want to know why we do it? Minutes we will watch your pride and joy and we will keep you safe. And this little creature who is tiring you out, we will give you 70 minutes to breathe, to rest, and to hear from God. Oh, it's not as popular as serving at the Palace Gate, or at the Fountains Gate, or at the Gardens Gate. We need someone at the Dung Gate. Who's that? You know, you've got teams. Those of you who are Dodger fans, you guys are happy. You're really happy, and I'm glad for you. But it's interesting, isn't it interesting? You always, every team, whether it's a baseball team, or a church team, or a family team, you have someone like Otani, right, who strikes out, 10 pitchers and hits 3 home runs. You always have that Nehemiah on the team. And then, what do they say? You always have guys that do the dirty work. The grunt work. That crash into the outfield fence to catch a fly ball. That dive. That put their body in front of the ball so that it doesn't get past the catcher. Every team has it. Every team has people that are willing to sacrifice. So you're looking to be someone that's committed, someone that's sacrificial. Number 3, someone that's humble. We're willing to serve in areas that are beneath them. You know what I mean by that, right? So based on some people's experience, based upon their spiritual maturity, based upon their age, based upon their education, based upon their intelligence, based upon how long they've been at the church, they're qualified to do this job. They're kind of high up in the org chart. They can do this. But because they have humility within them, they're willing to do this. It's quote-unquote beneath them. In other words, they have capacity for more, but this is what's needed at the point. So we'll do it. I'll help out. You have quite a few examples in Nehemiah chapter 3. It starts out, Nehemiah 3 verse 1, the high priest and his fellow priests went to work. Now you have to understand in those days that the high priest, it was a theocracy, which means that the high priest was not only the spiritual leader, but also the town. They not only led spiritually, they led fiscally, and they led politically. You think I wear flashy shirts. So the high priest had a sacred robe made of fine linen. He had a sash with 12 precious stones and a blue turban. You couldn't miss it. But you know what's happening right here in chapter 3, verse 1? He's pushing a wheelbarrow in the way. You see, he's qualified for this. He's like, I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to be humble. I'm willing to serve beneath me. It doesn't always happen that way. But, there's a lot of examples of that at Journey South Bay. If you're new to our church, we have people that are incredibly gifted, incredibly smart. In their careers, they either currently or in the past before they retired, had dozens, if not hundreds of people reporting to them. And then they show up to church and they're qualified for this. But they're willing to do this because of who they are in terms of their character. It happened today. It happened this week. Because you see, the pastor talked to the ministry associate, Nicole, and said, I want the chairman of the board to do live announcements, both services. And the response that we got was, sorry, I'm teaching Sunday school. You can have a video. You see, he wouldn't want me to say it, but it's not everybody that does that. Oh, no. Nehemiah chapter 3, verse 5. The nobles of Tekoa. We're not working. So you have sophisticated people and not so sophisticated people. You have wealthy people and not so wealthy people. You have super educated people and people who barely got a GED. You've got nobles of Tekoa, and then all the ordinary folk. And the nobles of Tekoa go, do you know who we are? Haven't you heard about us on social? We're not doing that. You know what? We're willing to put some bucks in so you can hire a couple guys from Home Depot to come do it. We're not doing it. I just share there because I sometimes how I feel about it. That I can go over that with you. So 15 steps in that direction. In that office, I have a file folder. In that file folder, I have the name of everybody that attends Journey South Bay. As many people as we have listed, right? And we have information for them. On that list, right next to every single name, we've identified whether they're on the growth track or not, because that's important to us. And I hope that you'll join us there at some point in time. Then we have whether or not they're in a life group. Because we want to know, do you have a team around you? That's important to us. Or it's just Sunday morning. So if you're not in a life group, we're targeting you to say, hey, that's so important. You need to be part of a group of people that you're doing life with together. So we have whether they're in a growth track, whether they're in a life group, and then the last column, where they're serving. Sometimes I sit in my office and I look at that last column, which have all kinds of empty things. Sometimes I feel confused. Because I thought, I know these people. They seem to love Jesus. They seem to understand this book, and yet they're doing nothing. Week after week, They come, they sit on their blessed assurance, they go have coffee and donut, they go home and come back and do the exact same thing the next week. And so sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm not explaining it well. Sometimes I'm just confused. Sometimes, if I'm honest, I'm a little bit ticked off. And I'm ticked off only when I see people that are doing 3 to 4 times as much as they should be doing, because some people are sitting in the stands watching. Does that make sense? And I see these people and it concerns me. I don't want them to burn out. Sometimes I'm frustrated. Have you figured it out by now that your pastor is an idea guy? We can do this and we can try that, and how about this initiative, and what about this program? We can conquer the kingdom for the South Bay! And then there's always someone on the 2 teams that I'm a part of, the staff team or the leadership team, and at some point in time, one of them says, David, we're not going to be able to do that because we don't have the team. We don't have the people. And that frustrates me because I see everything that we could do. But you want to know the main emotion I have? By far, when I see people that are part of a church and don't serve or don't be part of the team in some way, form or fashion, the main emotion I have is sadness. It hurts me on the inside. You want to know why? My primary hope for you, I want you to experience the presence of God. I really do. I want you to experience the fullness of God. I want you to experience the goodness and the joy of God. And you want to know what this book tells me? It's very hard for you to experience that unless you're part of the team. Unless you're building part of the wall of the kingdom of God. It's very interesting to me. I've noticed over the years as a pastor, when people talk to me and they're not serving, they always talk about, I like coming to your church. It's really nice what you guys are doing. The minute they start serving, their language changes. It's really great what we are doing. By the way, this morning I could care less what you think the pastor is making you feel. This is not about the pastor twisting your arm. Ultimately, more than anything else, I want you to dig down deeper. How is the Lord prompting you? I don't want you to feel guilty in the least, but I'm okay with you feeling conviction from the Holy Spirit. You got to distinguish which one it is. You know, I didn't even know you needed Hickalay help. No one even said anything. Take your bulletins. Everybody take your bulletin right now. The thing you got in, all the ushers gave you one. Go to the back page. We took everything off the back page. It's all gone. We normally have emails on there. We have contact information in there. We took it out because mainly we don't look at it anyway. So we took it all out. And look at on the back page. It says serve at Team Journey South Bay. And we gave you, how many is there? 15, 20 areas we need help on. The top 3 are the highest priority. Are they the most important? I don't know if they're the most important. They're the highest priority because of what they do. We need kids ministry, youth ministry, and life groups. Why? Kids ministry is the most highest volunteer intensive group. You can't have one leader for 20 kids. It's not like a ratio of 1 to 3. Right? Every time I ask Tiffany and Greg, do we need help in kids ministry? They always say yes. Why? We're growing. And we can't say we want to be a church that reaches young families if every single one of us isn't willing to maybe do our little part to help kids ministry. So we have those 3, and under each one of those we have different things to do. Then we have other positions, worship band, worship media, hospitality, administration. Every single staff member at Journey South Bay has come to me and begged me for administrative help. Begged me. Why? Because the staff that we have at Journey South Bay is really good at some things, not so great at admin. But we're smart enough to know we need to get that done if we want to serve God's people well. Seasoned ministry adults. You know, if there's one group that is really killing it at Journey South Bay, it's this ministry. I don't mean literally killing the people in the ministry. That's completely different. But the events that we're doing and the way we're meeting the needs of a huge population in this church is incredible. Now, Pastor John is really good at certain things, but he's not good at everything. The other part about Pastor John is he doesn't even live in the area. And so there's things he's like, what we could do if we just had a couple more extra people helping. And by the way, for that, it may not even be people that are in their 60s and 70s. It might be people that are younger but have a vision for serving this group. Then we have welcome team and ushers. You go, well, seems like we're fine with welcome team and ushers. Seems like we have plenty of people. Have you noticed that there's a lot of times the same people at the table? Have you noticed that? There's a reason for that. And oh, by the way, yeah, we might be okay with ushers and with welcome team, but we're trying to get ready for third service. Today is a little bit lighter Sunday, but some Sundays the ushers are working their tail off trying to ush. And we're trying to get, if we have to go third service now, we don't have capacity. We're trying to build that team because it's coming at some point in time. And then you have facilities and newcomers, compassion, social media, content, safety, tear down, setup, all these things. Now some of these groups, they don't need 10 people. The facilities could use 1 or 2, right? But if you look at this list, and I had to cut it because we didn't have room. Some of you are sitting there going, whew, thank goodness I'm already serving, not off the hook. Not so fast. But I suggest to those of you who are already serving, the question isn't, are you serving? The question is, are you serving where God wants you to be serving? There are some ministries in our church that are really easy for me to plug certain newcomers in. But they are so jam-packed with long-time Journey South Bay members, I can't squeeze those newcomers in. My question to you, and as I look at some of us serving, I say, you know what? They're doing a great job over there, and I'm happy for that. But they have capacity, maturity, and leadership, maybe not to do more and serve longer, but have higher responsibility. Might you consider that you've served in a ministry for a while, and now it's time to take on more responsibility? Ultimately, my goal this morning is to ask yourself, do I have a team that's supporting me? But also to ask yourself, am I in serving the team that I am called by local church? You need people with commitment, sacrifice, humility. Last one, work ethic. They're willing to go the extra mile. Nehemiah chapter 3, verse 19 through 20. Ezra, son of Jeshua, repaired another section, from a point facing the ascent of the armory as far as the angle of the wall. Next to him, Baruch, son of Zabbai, zealously repaired another section from the other angle of the entrance of the house of Eliashib. So here's what's going on. Okay, what's going to happen is you guys are going to build this section of the wall, and you guys are going to build this section of the wall. And son, you guys are going to build this section of the wall. Nyra, you guys got this section of the wall. John, you got this section of the wall. Katie, you got this section of the wall. Go. And at the end of the day, there's always someone that goes, well, who's building that section of the wall? You don't have it. And so there were individuals who finished their section of the wall, and they're like, you know what? I can stay a little longer. I'll help build that section of the wall over there. It's not always about doing more, but it's always about having an attitude that you're willing to go the extra mile. See, that's Jesus' language. He says when they force you to go 1 mile, don't just do 1 mile, surprise them and do 2 miles. Well, what is he talking about there? Well, there was a law at the time in Judah and in Israel that taught, remember, they are conquered people, the Romans have invaded and conquered the land, and the law stated that if a Roman soldier bumped into you, you were by law required, if they asked them, for you to carry their gear for 1 mile. Because their gear was heavy. So they would give you the gear, we would walk for a mile. After the mile, you would set it down. And what Jesus goes is, no. Here's what I want of my people. Don't just do the minimum. Blow people's minds, and don't just do 1 mile, go 2 miles. Do the extra mile. Do more than is expected, not less than is expected. You know, sometimes rebuilding the wall has nothing to do with your talent, it has everything to do with your work ethic. Just how hard are you doing the work? People that are humble, people that are committed, sacrificial, willing to roll up their sleeves. Some of you know, I grew up in Barcelona where that video was taken. I grew up there. That was my hometown. The Ramblas, we would walk it once a month. That was my hometown. And I grew up there till I was 17 years old. You take baseball, you take basketball, You take football, you roll it all up into one. That's what soccer is in the country of England. It's all about soccer. I was a decent athlete. I did really well at soccer. I came back to the United States, got multiple scholarships to go to this college. I chose a small college in Santa Barbara, got a full-ride scholarship. But I was very young. I went to college when I was 17, didn't turn 18 until the end of my freshman year. So I was very young going into college. And what that meant is that even though I had some skill, when we had games, and we played big powerhouse teams, UCLA, UCSB, we played big teams, UNLV, I remember there were times that at the end of the game, we had to give our equipment back to the equipment manager, and I would go back and I would give him my jersey. No sweat on it. Because I rode the bench that game and didn't get to contribute. And it killed me. I couldn't stand those game days. And what I want more than anything else as your pastor, I don't want you Sunday after Sunday after Sunday to come to your Lord and hand in a perfectly clean white jersey because you didn't contribute. Nehemiah issues the call to us. I left it out last week because it comes in chapter 2, but I want to read it with you today. Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 17 through 20, or through 18. And we're going to read a couple verses. Now, we're going to do this together. So the sections that are colored in yellow, underlined, and bolded, you're going to read as a congregation out loud, and I'm going to read the rest. You got it? Okay, here we go. Nehemiah says, "Then I said to them," by the way, he's speaking to the nobles of Tekoa who don't want to work. He says, okay, "Then I said to them, you see the trouble are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and will no longer be in disgrace. I also told them about the gracious hand of my God on me and what the king had said to me. They replied, let start rebuilding." You see, here's the lesson that Nehemiah is trying to teach us. Very simply this. Write this down. We are better together. We are stronger together. We are more holy in God's eyes together. Journey South Bay has got a bright future in my mind. We're focused on what's most important to God. We zero in on the one. We at the same time are reaching people for Christ and helping disciple people that are already committed to Christ. We have people getting saved, people getting baptized. We're growing exponentially. It's fun and it's exciting to see what is happening. But none of this continues to happen if it's just about me. It has to be about we. 1 Corinthians 12, the Apostle Paul essentially says the same thing. Paul says, you want to know what the church is supposed to be like? A body. And in the body, everyone's important. The elbow's important, the pinky is important, your knees are important, your ankles are important, your forehead's important, all your internal organs, they're all important because they all have a role. And what Nehemiah chapter 3 is doing is exactly what Paul is doing in 1 Corinthians 12. He's issuing a call to the church and followers of Christ, all hands on deck. Once you decide what your home church is, there really isn't any reason or any excuse to stay in the stands. There's none. So where do you want to help? How do you want to be part of the team? Because we're better together. We really are. But not for everybody. There's still those nobles of Tekoa that don't want to work. And so it's very interesting what he says to them in chapter 2. He says this, the God of heaven will give us success. We're going to pull it off. His servants will start rebuilding, but as for you, you have no share in Jerusalem or any claim or historic right to it. So help us build a wall. Help us build a kingdom. Join the team. But if you choose not to, just heads up, you're going to miss out. You say, miss out on what? Miss out on something that looks like this. Let's show this video.
Campeón olímpic y medalla d'or.
Champion olympique et médaille d'or.
Olympic champion and gold medalist.
Campeón olímpico y medalla de oro. El equipo de los Estados Unidos de América. Integrat per Christian B. Leitner, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Greg Drexler, Karl Malone, John Stockton.
The video goes on. Irvin Johnson gets a medal. The rest of the guys get a medal, and then they play the national anthem as our team stood there with tears on their eyes. I can't imagine what it's like to represent our country, get a gold medal. But you know what this book tells me? This tells me that the reward that you and I get as faithful servants that build the kingdom is even greater what you just saw. And I don't know how it's going to work. But I imagine a day when on the loudspeakers of heaven, they call your name. And you're invited to come to the champion podium. And your Lord gives you a crown, gives you a reward, gives you a medal and says, well done, good and faithful servant. Well done. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to put that last slide up there, and I just want you to reflect. I already said it once, but what I especially want you to do is I want you to lean in and I want you to ask, what is God prompting you to do? Just lean into that question. Not David, what does God want you to do? Where could or should you serve? If you're not doing anything, go to that list on the back of the program. You probably noticed on the way in, we got all the tables back there, the ministry leaders up there. We're not ending with offering because we got the worship team back there. And all the ministry leaders have their fingers crossed, and they are hoping that a couple of us go to their table and say, you know, I'd be willing to be part of the team. But it's not just about Team Journey South Bay. You see the next bullet point. Who's next to you on the wall? Who do you need on your team? So I want us to end in prayer, and I'm going to give you about 60 seconds, just you and God. You can close your eyes. You cannot close your eyes. But I want you to reflect on what's on the screen, and we're going to leave it up there. So let's pray right now. Take the time to lean in to God. Why did He want you here today?
Would you stand with me for closing prayer, please? Heavenly Father, what a surprising chapter. What an incredible chapter, maybe because it surprised us. How much is in there, in between the names and what you call us to do? To call us to build a team to help repair what is broken in our lives, but also to be part of the kingdom team that builds what's important to you. Father, you touched and worked in each and every one of us just a little bit differently. But may we not waste the last 35, 40 minutes of our life. May we be challenged and convicted about what it means to be part of a team, what it means to build your kingdom. Father, we love you. We thank you for how practical your word is. We pray all this in Jesus' name, and all God's people said. Well, have a great week. I encourage you to go back to the hall or enjoy some coffee and donuts. Take care. Bye-bye.